Hello, my name is Angela Morabito, and I'm here at the Leadership Institute's Campus Reform. We're joined today by Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, who has been leading the charge to create transparency around foreign funding in higher education. Senator Blackburn, thank you so much for joining us.
I am delighted to join you, and thank you for putting attention on this issue.
Well, it's truly our pleasure. And now you've been very active on the topic, particularly of Confucius Institutes, which are around 100 almost teaching departments at universities around the country that are funded by the Chinese government. Can you explain to us some of your concerns about those?
Oh, absolutely. And whether it is a Confucius Institute that is on one of our university campuses or a Confucius classroom that is found in our K through 12 schools, and we've got about 500 of those in the country. What we know is that the Chinese Communist Party uses these as a form of soft propaganda. They say that they're going in to teach language and teach about culture, but what they're also doing is teaching about the Chinese Communist Party and Chinese history in the viewpoint of the Chinese Communist Party.
And that's so important for students to know, because when you look at these Confucius Institutes on paper, whether it's through their own materials or through what colleges and universities say about them, you see that they're mainly language classes, and that they're teaching things like Tai Chi and calligraphy that sound like harmless and even positive cultural exchanges. So is there evidence that you have seen about Confucius Institutes potentially having ulterior motives?
Well, Angela, I think one of the things we have to look at is that the Chinese Communist Party regularly seeks to send academics as spies into universities and research institutions. We also can look at what they have said about the Confucius Institutes and how they, the Chinese Communist Party, reference these institutes as being a part of their propaganda program.
It's amazing what is said about these Confucius Institutes. They say the quiet part out loud, right? About what they're seeking to accomplish. And as you mentioned, they are the Chinese Communist Party is pushing these Confucius Institutes in classrooms, or what they're called, in K through 12 schools. And so much of what they do on college campuses is about training teachers. Are you concerned that they're starting to impact younger and younger students?
Oh, absolutely, we're concerned, because what are they doing? They are changing Chinese history to fit their narrative of what they want people to know about China. And when you look at maybe the history around Mao, or when you look at what happened at Tiananmen Square, what you're getting is a sanitized Chinese Communist Party version of those events, and not an objective version of those events.
It's a controversy that has flown under the radar for far too long. And Senator, as you know, the Biden administration just quietly canceled a rule that had been proposed by the Trump administration that would have required higher education institutions to be transparent, to make public their contracts with Hanban, which is the Chinese government agency that runs the Confucius Institutes. Can you talk about why you think this rule was revoked and what the impact may be?
Well, it seems that the Biden administration is going to go soft on China and soft on the Chinese Communist Party across the board. And they quietly revoked this rule. And of course, Angela, I've had the legislation last session of Congress and this one that would require this of colleges and universities. See, what the Chinese are doing is going to a university saying, we will pay you. Sometimes it's millions of dollars to have this institute on your campus. And we will staff the institute. Well, next thing you know, what they're trying to do is abide by Chinese law and not US law. What they are doing is teaching the Chinese Communist Party version of Chinese events and not the historically accurate version of events. So requiring these universities to be transparent, to talk about the money that has exchanged hands, to reveal who the Chinese Communist Party is sending as professors or instructors. This is something that the American people need to know. It is something that parents of students, whether they're in a K through 12 or a university, want to know who is instructing their children.
That just seems remarkably fair. And while it's intuitive to us why transparency is a good thing, I'm wondering if there's anything the Biden administration may think there is a gain from revoking this rule. Do you think it was a gesture at improving our relationship with China, or is it about allowing schools to accept large amounts of funding with very little oversight?
You know, Angela, I think that the Biden administration has let it be known that they are going to go soft on China. Look at the decision they made around the Keystone Pipeline. Now, Canada's crude is going to go where? It's going to go to China, putting us back in the Paris Climate Accords. It handicaps our industry and it favors China because they do not abide by the Paris Climate Accords. So this has caused the loss of millions of jobs. When it comes to exchanges, like the Confucius Institutes, they're saying basically, China, come on in, and we're not going to ask questions about who you're sending over here. And we're not going to ask questions about the money that you are putting into American universities. We're just going to roll out the red carpet and let you come right on in.
It's definitely something that deserves more attention. And as you work on a legislative fix, what would you say in the meantime to a student who maybe wants to study international business or study Chinese language and sees these Confucius Institutes and considers taking a class there? Do you think that is something worth considering, or what should students be wary of?
Students should be wary in all of these classes in these institutes, whether it's a Confucius Institute or whether it is some other international institute. You should always seek the point and the counterpoint. And you should always try to be in a class that is going to encourage a robust discussion, that is going to welcome different points of view.
It's so important. And we know that what we see on college campuses today is going to appear in boardrooms and in newsrooms tomorrow. So people really underestimate how much foreign money is influencing their classrooms. And, Campus Reform talks, our correspondents talk to students on campus who say that foreign funding isn't really on their radar until you tell them about just how much money is coming in from China, from Qatar, from Saudi Arabia, from countries that probably don't have our students' best interests at heart. And this is about so much more than education. It touches research, intellectual property, as you mentioned, national security, and also big tech with Huawei. So what would you like to see as a solution here? If you could do it today, what would you say the fix should be?
The fix is not going to be an easy fix, because what we have to do is unravel our relationship with China. You mentioned Huawei and technology. What we have to guard against is China setting the standards when it comes to our transmission systems, when it comes to 5G technologies. We also have to make certain that these technologies do not make their way into our military systems or the systems of our allies. When you look at our military, it is great power competition that we talk about. And China has been very aggressive with their Belt and Road Initiative, with their debt diplomacy, trying to buy favor, curry favor with foreign governments. We have to make certain that our allies know not to be tempted by that. We need to make certain that our students understand the long-term danger of our allies participating in debt diplomacy or using Huawei equipment. We have to also make certain that our businesses and our business schools who are training tomorrow's leaders understand that when you're dealing with China, you never know where their commercial sector begins and their military sector ends, because China practices what they call commercial military fusion. It is one and the same. One benefits the other. So that is kind of a buyer beware signal to our U.S. businesses.
Thank you so much, Senator Blackburn. And I want to switch gears a little bit here to another legislative effort that you are part of. I understand you're co-sponsoring Senator Mike Lee's bill to protect women and girls in sports.
Yes.
And
yes, absolutely. This is vitally important. Look how hard we have worked through the decades to make certain that women had their opportunity to compete in sports, and especially at the college level. You look at the students and how hard they train for the Olympics, and you want to make certain that they have the opportunity to compete and to excel.
And one thing that's interesting about the bill is that it doesn't mention transgender athletes by name, and it doesn't say that transgender athletes can't compete. It says that they need to compete if they would like to be part of athletics in line with their biological sex and not their gender identity. Would you say this is about leveling the playing field? Is this about opening up opportunities? How do you see this creating change?
This is about opportunities for women to be able to compete and able to excel. And we want to keep those doors open for women and girls in sports.
And would you say that this is a continuation of Title IX, of that effort that came up so many decades ago to secure equality for women?
Yes, Title IX was all about opening doors for women who wanted to be able to compete, to get college scholarships, and to be able to say that they worked hard and then they won. This is important for girls and young women to be able to do.
Absolutely. And we're starting to see this even at the high school level as people compete for college scholarships. But before we go, I wanted to open the floor to you, Senator Blackburn, and see if there's anything else you would like to draw attention to. The floor is yours.
I just say for all of our college students, one of the issues we continue to focus on is campus free speech, and making certain that students who go to college are going to be able to hear a point and a counterpoint in the classroom, that they come out of college understanding that there is a way to have respectful, robust debate, that they understand that they can agree to disagree on some issues and still have respect for the individual. That is how you prepare yourself for a lifetime of hard work and success in your chosen career.
Well, Senator Blackburn, we're very grateful for your hard work. Thank you again for joining us.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Hey there, my name is Hannah Catherine Smith and I'm with Campus Reform. To continue seeing videos like these, be sure to subscribe here. And if you're interested in becoming a member of the Campus Reform team as an investigator or a correspondent, you can join the team here. And if you'd like to help us continue making videos like these, donate here.